And welcome to RockSim Live. My name is Tim Van Milligan. This is where we're going to talk about RockSim, RockSim Pro, and the launch visualizer. Today is November 28th, the day after Thanksgiving. There's a lot of football games on right now, but you are here. So thank you for being here. We didn't know if we would show up today or not, but we got a full staff here at Apogee Components. And so we're here, we're doing our Black Friday thing. We are open, but it's been kind of calm, which is kind of typical for around here on Black Friday. Most people are in the stores, and then they show up whenever, because we are online. So let's get started. So this is RockSim Live. And we're here to talk about RockSim, RockSim Pro, or the launch visualizer. If you have questions, I have the chat running. So go ahead and put those questions in the chat because I don't have anything to talk about. I kind of did this on short notice this morning. I scheduled it when I got in. I said, hey, I guess we could do a RockSim Live. We're all here. So I got a monitor right here. That's why I'm looking over here. And we have MOB Rockets says he's not missing any games. He's got Apogee on the phone and the football game on the big screen. He says Rocketeers are expert at multitasking, which is great. I love it. I love to see that. Gino145 says happy turkey leftover day from Boise. Well, thank you, Gino. I'm going to have some leftover turkey myself tonight. Curtis Howe is here. He says it's freezing in Portland, Michigan. It's 29 and it feels like 14. Ooh, that's cold. Here in Colorado Springs, we're, I think, in the mid 50s right now, but it's kind of overcast. And then it's supposed to be cold all the rest of the weekend. So enjoy it while you got it. Marcel says, any Black Friday specials? Actually, there is a couple of specials going on right now. The first one, let me show up my computer screen here. We have this Christmas tree topper over here. And if you spend $30, you get that. You got to use the coupon code HOLIDAY25. Now, let me click on this. It says we're sold out, but we're making more as we speak. I know that our people in the shop are making more. This is like the third time we've had to make more, but they're easy to make. It's just a couple of laser cut components and a body tube. So they go pretty fast. And so they're making more right now. So it says sold out right now, but give it maybe an hour or two, and then they'll be back in stock. So that's one of the things that's going on right now. We also have, down here, we have discontinued rockets for sale. And so all these on this page that say discontinued kits for sale, we have a coupon code, and I'll put that coupon code in the chat. I got to spell it right. The coupon code is GONE2025. It's now in the chat. So you can use that on any of these kits right here. These are kits that aren't just selling very well, and we want to get them out the door. You'll notice that they're all pretty much Estes kits. I guess people don't buy Estes kits from us. They buy them from their local store or some other discounter. So we're going to get rid of these, and then when they're gone, they're gone. Looks like on the Black Brant, we got more than 10 of them in stock. Yeah. So, so that's what's going on. Also, what's going on, there's one other thing that's going on. right here, this banner bar, well, you could sign up for the newsletter. This is where you learn to get those discount coupon codes, because we only give them to subscribers of the newsletter and to people that are watching right now. So make sure you sign up. We got great videos and newsletters that we release one per week. So next week is a newsletter. This past week was a video. And you can see what they were. So our last video was talking about high power rocket motor mounts, 3 rings versus 2. And the last video, or the last newsletter, was about the Fort Sill Alpha rocket. Now, the Fort Sill Alpha rocket, if you're not familiar, was developed by the engineers at the Army base in Fort Sill in like 1960. In 1960, the book Rocket Manuals for Amateurs came out, and it was by Captain Bertrand R. Brindley. He was a captain in the Army, and his job was to be a liaison with civilians and to promote rocketry in a safe way. And so they created this rocket called the Fort Sill Alpha, and it was in the plans for it were in the book. But it was loaded with 8 pounds of propellant. So it was all about amateur rocketry back then, because Estes was just getting started. And but what we did is we took that Alpha rocket and we made a plan out of it. And you can download that plan in that newsletter. And it's a really simple design, and it's based on a BT-60, and it's almost a 1-to-1 scale rocket. It's just a little bit off, just to make it so it could be on the BT-60. But anyway, what I wanted to show was on the banner bar here, we have RockSim Pro version 4.3, and we have a special deal on that one as well. If you spend $30, you get this also for free. So remember, you get the tree topper for $30, plus you can stack these two together, because it's kind of automatic. This one is set up, if your order is more than $30, you're just automatically going to get it. And it can be renewed every month. So next month, you can also get a 30-day trial version of RockSim Pro for free, just by spending $30, and you can keep doing this month after month. So you get the tree topper, you get RockSim Pro, and you can get a 10% discount on those discontinued Estes rockets that we're trying to get rid of. Normally, we don't have sales because that's not what we do. You know, you don't buy a Rolex a Rolex watch for sale from Rolex, because they don't do discounts. Because it's a high quality item. And that's what our philosophy is that we make the best rockets, we provide the best information, we're here for you 100%. We have the same day shipping guarantee. When you call us on the phone, you can talk to a real person. Like right now, if you call this number on the phone, somebody was going to answer, because that's what we do here. And that costs extra money. So, you know, we're providing an extra service to people. So that's kind of why we can't afford to discount. Only when we try to blow out items that aren't selling and they're just wasted money. Marcel says, what cluster of rocket motors to fast cook a turkey? Man, oh man, that's kind of hard, because most rocket motors will just blow the turkey apart if you're going to fast cook it. So that's all that I have in the chat so far. So you guys don't have any RockSim questions. So if you're brand new to Apogee and RockSim, if you're watching this on replay, because there's a lot of people that do. So if you come here to our homepage and you go through this banner bar, if you click on the RockSim banner, it will take you to this page where you can buy it. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see download a free 30-day trial to test it out for yourself. So you can get a free trial of RockSim, and then you can also get a free trial of RockSim Pro. They're two different programs. RockSim Pro is 6 degrees of freedom. RockSim is just 3. They both open the same files. So if you design a rocket in RockSim, you can open it in RockSim Pro and vice versa. So you can discover how to use RockSim. We have video tutorials. We have system requirements. There's a special offer for ARC teams. In the ARC competition, they're going to be closing out registration in like less than 2 weeks. So maybe it's less than a week. Maybe it's next week when they get back to school. So once you sign up for your ARC team, you'll get a number, and that number can be used here at Apogee. We're going to ask you for that team number, and we're going to verify that you are actually a team, and then we're going to give you a great discount on that. It's a limited duration copy. It's not a permanent copy like when you buy it. So it will cut off at the end of the TARC season, which is in May. So you can use it until May for a really screaming discount price. And if you lost your activation key, you can get that. You can regenerate the fee or the key here for a fee of $1, because it costs us a little bit of money just to look things up. But if you log into your account on the Apogee website, and then once you're logged in, I'm not logged in, but once you're logged in, you come to here, and this menu will have a lot more things like previous orders and updating your billing information, and it will also list your RockSim keys and your RockSim Pro keys. So, so you can always find them there, and that will save you that $1 fee. Okay. Still no questions. So let's go to RockSim and see what we can play with today. I'm going to go to RockSim Pro. This is RockSim Pro. It looks a lot like RockSim. It's got a few extra buttons up here that RockSim doesn't have, and a couple of extra tabs that RockSim doesn't have. But in general, it will operate just like RockSim. One of the things I want to do is in RockSim Pro, I don't think I've talked about this in a long time, is about uncertainties. So when you run a simulation in RockSim Pro, you have the ability to run uncertainties. So let me load an engine in here. Actually, I already have one, an E20-7. And under flight events, I have it deploying a maximum ejection delay. My starting state is I got a 60-inch launch rod, and I'm launching 9.7 degrees. Let's make it 9 degrees from vertical. And my direction, imagine this is a compass. My direction is 124 degrees, which is kind of like south-southwest is the direction I'm launching. Under the launch conditions, this is my launch pad location. My wind table, I got wind 8 miles an hour coming from the north. Let's switch it to the west. So when you're in the wind tables, you use a compass direction. So you can come back here to starting state. And if you say coming out of the west, you can either use -90 or 270. So let me try -90. I don't think I've ever tried a negative number before. And let's see what happens. Okay, so I got wind at 0 feet at sea level at 8 miles an hour, and then at 12,000 feet above sea level, also at 8 miles an hour. So basically, it's a constant wind that's blowing through us. Let me run a simple simulation here first. I'm going to just hit the flight profile just to verify that things are looking okay. And what it does is it opens up the launch visualizer, and we see our rocket sitting on the pad. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can kind of get the lay of the land. So down here is a compass. I'm going to swing north to the top of the screen. So my rocket is right here in the middle, and I can tilt this camera. So we're kind of looking at a side view. And when we launch the button, look, it's only going to be in the air for 13 seconds. So it took off. It's kind of going crazy. And it's arcing over. And oh, there's the parachute. The parachute finally came out. And it's going to land right there. Okay, so you can kind of see that this rocket, it had kind of a weird trajectory. Didn't go very high. And then it landed 516 feet away. So if I zoom in here, you can kind of see where's the rocket landing. And it looks like this is some kind of crop on the ground. This looks like grass, but this looks taller. And I am not sure where I am. I think I'm in Wisconsin. I think the last time we were together last week, we set this up for Wisconsin. So yeah, so here's Lake Michigan, and here is Wisconsin. Here's Chicago right down there. Okay, so this looks pretty good. I think I want a bigger motor because I think I want it to go higher. So let's choose a bigger motor. So I'm going to look at the total impulse because the total impulse is kind of like the size of your gas tank. And here's an Aerotech F32, has 56 Newton seconds, which is a big number. I'm looking for the biggest number. Here's a 57 with an F35. If I click on this column, it will sort everything by the total impulse. And I could go with the Cicerone. There's a couple of Cicerones that are higher, but they're a little bit harder to get, those motors. So I'm going to stick with the Aerotech right now and click OK. And I'm going to make my delay 8 seconds. Okay. All right. So basically we're set up. And so we're going to go uncertainties. So the uncertainties are over here. So uncertainties are things in the launch that are variable, that could be variable. Like you're not sure if the mass of the rocket is right. So, you didn't weigh the rocket right before you launched it. So it might be off by 5%. And then the moment of inertia is probably going to be off by 5%. And then maybe the center of gravity, that one you can kind of know. So I'm going to say my center of gravity is off because you're going to balance it and they're going to weigh it. And you should know where the center of pressure is not going to move on you. So, we have the center of pressure here. I'm going to say that one's okay. And if you're not sure about all these other ones, just turn them into a 0. And then they won't be uncertain anymore. So I'm going to turn everything to 0 except for a few of them here. Things that I know I'm going to be uncertain about, like the wind direction. I know the wind is probably, like right now we're saying it's out of the north. No, it's out of the west. But it might be northwest, it might be southwest, it might be west. So, there's like a Z shape that it's kind of swirling around, but it's not going to be out of the east. So it's not going to be a full 180 degrees off. So let's say it's maybe 20 degrees off. And then the velocity, right? Remember, we're saying we got an 8-mile-an-hour wind blowing. But sometimes it might be 10 miles an hour. Sometimes it might be 4 miles an hour, because wind just kind of comes in spurts. So let's say our velocity uncertainty is like 5 miles an hour. And then our launch guide angle, our azimuth is our compass direction. So, we're saying, southwest, it might be off 10 degrees because that's a little harder to measure. And our elevation is our angle from vertical. That one, we'll say it will be off 3 degrees. So what I've got is things that I'm uncertain about. I don't know my mass so much. It might be 5% off. My moment of inertia, because my mass is off, could be off. The wind direction is off. The velocity, I just don't know. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. And that's what uncertainties is about. You're just kind of eyeballing it. But we want to know, with all these uncertainties, they could all add up into a lot of different parameters that could cause the rocket to go in a direction that we don't want. So now we're going to run the number of uncertainties. So previously there were no uncertainties, so the number was 0. So now we're going to add some uncertainties, and in this case, what RockSim Pro is going to do is going to run them sequentially. So it's going to run a launch, change something, run a launch, change something. Might be changing a couple of things at once. And then we're going to see what happens when the rocket lands and where it's going to land. So I'm going to let's do 100 uncertainty runs, and then let's go flight profile. We'll do the same thing. So let's see how fast this runs. So it's clicking them off pretty quick. So we're already a 1/10 of the way done, 1/5 of the way done. Good time to take a break. Almost halfway done. Tiny House Homestead says, design a rocket. It needs a little trimming. Did everyone design a gobbler rocket for RockSim? And I said, no, I did not design a gobbler rocket. Okay, so my uncertainties are done. Okay, so now this time, again, let's kind of like angle this to the north. Okay, so remember, north is like into the screen, so we can see that the rocket is angled. And let me see. So this leg right here points to the north. So we're kind of pointed to the southwest, like we said. And then let's zoom out. And let's launch this one. This one's going to be in the air longer because we chose a bigger motor. So let's launch. So the rocket's taking off. You can see the smoke coming out. Now it's coasting. Whoa! It's doing some crazy things. This rocket right here, because it has canards, oh man, it did a giant loop. Okay, and then parachute came out and it's coming down and it's going to land right there. Oh, and look, it made an R. I've never made an R before. Is that cool or what? Anyway, so, but if you look at it from this view, it doesn't look like an R. So now we're looking at it straight down, and you can see the launch pad was right here. It took off and it did a loop and it went under itself, and then it came down, and then right here was the parachute came out, and it started blowing, and north is to the left. So east is this way. So yes, we did get it right when we chose minus 90 degrees from our wind direction, and that puts it out of the west. So the rocket did come down. As soon as the parachute opened, it was going to the west, or the east. Okay, so that was the initial run, but remember, it ran 100 uncertainties. So I'm going to close this. And so how did you see those other ones? Well, that's what this button up here is for in RockSim Pro. This is our uncertainties. And it's going to allow us to plot this in like 2 different ways. We're going to use a chart, or we could plot it on Google Earth. And first I'm going to show you the chart. And this is what the chart looks like. Holy cow. All right, so let's make sense of this. So right here, we have distance from the launch point in feet. So right here is 0. So the launch point is this green square. So right here is our green square. This triangle one over here by my cursor, by the thumb, the gray triangle, that is the nominal landing point. So that was the landing point we saw when we opened it up in the launch visualizer. And now all these other ones, so there's 100 other ones that are uncertain. So basically something changed, and this created this plot right here of different landing points. And if we click on a landing point, it'll bring up this right here, and it will tell us what caused it to land way over there. So what it shows is a mass error of minus 3.99%. And this is the moment of inertia errors. So we have a moment of inertia error in the X direction and the Y direction. There's nothing going on with the fin alignment, nothing going on with propulsion. And then in the wind, why do we have two direction errors here? We have a minus 18 and minus 3.4. This is direction. So the direction was off 18 degrees, and then the velocity of the wind blowing was off 3.84. But I'm just trying to figure out why there's a second one here. There should only be one, because that's that point right there. And then our launch guide also had an error. So our azimuth, our compass direction that we launched it in, that was off by 2.69 degrees, and our elevation error was off by almost 6 degrees. So that kind of gives you this plot right here of all the different launch points. So if I click on that one, it'll tell me what the uncertainty was to put it right there. But the problem with this, so down here is a preferences button. Can you see the preferences? Yeah, you can see the preferences button. You click on that, you can change the color of these things. So my nominal landing point, instead of being gray, we can make it orange. And and you can change the what shape it is. I can make it a cross. And if I hit plot graph, nothing happened. Should have changed that. Did I change that? Plot graph. It didn't update it. Okay, anyway, let's try it again. Go here. Yeah, this time it did update it. So now it did make it a cross, but it's a tiny cross, so it's hard to see. Diamond. Plot graph. Oh, that time it did change it. Okay, so that's the nominal landing point. Okay, so now if I clicked it again, this time I'm going to click on the Google Earth landing point chart. And you also have to launch Google Earth. So this is an application that you're going to download from Google. And it's an app, so it's kind of like its own little program. And it's kind of similar to the launch visualizer. It's similar in one respect, like you're seeing the same launch field. In fact, they're the same maps, but Google plots things different, and it's not quite as nice. But you can see, if we kind of like try to figure things out, this was going to be our launch point right here, and then the landing point was right there. And if we look at it from above, it looks very similar to what we saw before. Of course, this is north this way, so yeah, it's got a little perspective to it. And if you zoom in too much, you kind of clip off the top of the flight. But if you come over here to this, this is the Century Jayhawk splash pattern. If I click down here and click down there, you can see that these points aren't turned on. So I can turn on the launch point. So there's my launch point. Here is the nominal landing point. And then all these other ones are the uncertainty points. And I can start turning these on. and you can see those uncertainty points. And if you want to turn them all on at one time, you come here and then you just click on that. Come on. Yeah, there you go. Turned them all on. And you can kind of see they create a cluster on the ground. And if I zoom in, again, this is kind of like that chart we saw, but now we kind of know where they are. So remember before we clicked on this one point way out here. So I'm going to click on it again. And again, it brings up that same information. Remember, we were off almost 6 degrees here. I remember that number because it was really close to 6. And, you have your mass errors and your moment of inertia errors. So that's kind of how this works. When you got a lot of uncertainties, it really spreads out your possible locations for landing. And the downside of this is, what it should tell you is make sure you know pretty close when you launch all the parameters of your rocket, so you're not uncertain about them. So let's launch another one. So this time let's launch a different rocket. Let's go to a Dynastar. Let's go to I'm looking for a Sky Torpedo. No, not Sky Torpedo. Stonebreaker. That's a pretty simple rocket. Do I save my changes? No. Okay, so here's the Stonebreaker. If we look at it in 3D, this is what it looks like. Let's load an engine. Choose an engine. This one should fly much straighter because it doesn't have the canards on it. And let's make it an 8-second delay. Click that. Okay, so flight events. Let's deploy the parachute. Deploy it. Max ejection delay. Starting state. Same as before. Kind of launching to the southwest. Wind table. Let's make everything the same. And then the uncertainties. Let's start making these a little bit more certain. Okay, wind direction. Let's make this one like, let's narrow it up, like 5 degrees. And the velocity, let's go 3 miles an hour. And let's say we know for certain, as the angle, because we're going to measure it. Yeah, but the azimuth angle is a little harder to measure, so we'll say 3 degrees. And again, we'll run 100 simulations, and let's look at it in the flight profile first. Mark Sell says, what's that rocket called? The Boomerang? That is a pirate rocket. It's going to fly around and get you in the booty. That's pretty funny. Chris's Rocketry and More says, do I have to wait until RockSim Pro expires to make another $30 purchase to renew it? Or how does that work? So say you're on, whenever you make that $30 purchase, it'll erase the old one and start a new one. So say yesterday you bought $30, so now you got 30 days, so that takes you to like December 27th. Let's call it December 27th. Then today you buy another $30. So what happens is now your license is extended to the 28th of December. So to maximize it, you want to kind of spread it out, just like every 30 days, just come back. Otherwise, we kind of, we'd like you to come back every day and spend $30, but we understand. All right, so this ran the simulation, and it put it on the other monitor, so I'll just bring it over here. This time, let's look at it from a trajectory view. So my rocket is right here. Let's swing the north around to the north. So again, our rocket is right there, that little dot. Let's angle this over. We know it's going to blow to the east. We're launching to the southwest, so we're actually launching this direction down towards the bottom left-hand corner. When we launch it, rocket's taking off, but there's an 8-mile-an-hour wind, so it's blowing it around. You can see the wind is blowing this way. We're right at Apogee now. Okay, so now our parachute is out, and it is drifting towards the east, which is what we expected. And we'll bring it all the way down to the ground. And so you can kind of see our rocket lands way over here, which is what I would expect. All right, and let's look at it from above. And so, okay, the launch point was right there. It arced over. Here's the apogee point, and then everything this way is under parachute as it's descending down to the ground. Okay, that looks fine. Okay, so now we're going to go over to here to the Google plot again, and we'll click on this again. And where'd my Google Pro go? There it is. All right, so this is the hard part, is we got multiple rocket launches here. I need to, okay, so this Jayhawk one, let me delete that, say okay. Okay, so here's the Stonebreaker. And again, if we look at it from straight up and down, and you can kind of see what it looks like. Kind of looks the same. Okay, so now let's turn on all of our uncertainties. Okay, so this time, previously, all of our uncertainty points were like all over the place. This time, all of our uncertainties, our rocket is landing way over here. So now, since we're much more certain about what's going to happen, you know, this grouping right here is called a splash pattern, because it's kind of named after what NASA did when they had splash downs in the ocean. They wanted to know where their capsule was going to land, so they call it a splash pattern. So that's what we're still calling it to this day, is a splash pattern. And so you can see those uncertainties. If I click on them again, I can see what caused it to go over to here. We had a velocity error in a direction. And again, why am I getting a second line right here? And that's at altitude of 39,000 feet. It's kind of weird. I don't understand that. I'll have to look into that. So it's kind of fun to play around. You can change colors and things. Let me delete this one so that when we open it again, delete. Okay, so I can come over here and I can change the, what I clicked on was Google Earth settings. And the color of the trajectory is blue. And I can change the opacity. I'll make it 50%. And then the launch point, all my colors are blue. So the launch point, let's make that white. And the highlight icon, so there's a normal icon and a highlight icon. Let's make the highlight one yellow. So that means when you hover your mouse over it, it's going to change colors. So I'm going to go from white to yellow. My nominal point, again, let's make it orange for the nominal, and then the mouse over, let's make it green. And then my uncertainty points, let's make them purple. Let's make it a light purple. Okay, and then when I hover over it, let's make it a bright magenta. Okay, then we click OK, and then when we go to the same chart again, oops, you'll notice things have changed. So again, why'd they all turn blue? That's weird. They should have changed colors. The launch point changed. Interesting. And these go from blue to black when you hover over them. And our nominal point is this one right there. That's the nominal landing point, where if everything was certain, 100% certainty, that's where it would land. Okay, so any questions about that? Let me know. Chris's Rocketry More. When I want to change CD, there is a CD CB override and a CN CP override. How do I change the CD? Well, I've been playing around with this because we talked about this last week, and I think we discovered a bug. Don't save that. So basically, you would go here, and then you would, so if you measured your coefficient of drag, and we talked about this in Peak of Flight newsletter, I think it was like 150 something. Yeah, Peak of Flight number 651 is how to calculate the coefficient of drag of your rocket. And it gives you a spreadsheet, and it gives you a process to get coefficient of drag versus speed is what you're going to end up with. And then from that, you want to populate this table right here of the coefficient of drag. And I've been doing some research on this, and I'm writing an article about it, and it should be out next week. So to calculate the CD, and so the CD is the coefficient of drag, and the CB is the base coefficient of drag. And you'll notice there's these letters right here. So at 0 degrees angle of attack, this is the value you want to put in. You'll probably not have these other values, so you'll leave those as 0. These are at different angles of attack. So B is at low angles of attack, C is at high angles of attack. And the newsletter article is going to explain it, but without a wind tunnel, I don't know, or computational fluid dynamics, I don't know how you do it. So to use it, you would uncheck this box here, and as soon as I unchecked it, you'll see that it pre-populated the table with different values. And those were pre-populated based on what RockSim estimates. So at Mach 0.01, our coefficient drag is 0.45. And I think if we go up here to CD analysis, we can see things. So I'm going to go here at, so this is the coefficient of drag chart, which should be these values here. So if I go, I'm just testing right now, 0.01, hit tab, and it's the predicted value is 0.451, which is this number right here. And at 0.202, no, that's at 0.2. Hit tab, 0.358. So that looks good. It looks like it is populating those correctly. 0.5. 0.333, that's good. That number matches that number. Good to see that. At least that part's working. So basically what you would do is you would pre-populate these values right here for different Mach numbers. And, you know, getting high Mach numbers, it goes up to 100. That's like almost the speed of light. And basically what we did there was so that it wouldn't extrapolate after this highest value. So that doesn't really mean much. It's just that it prevents it from extrapolating. But between values, it will interpolate. So between 0.01 and 0.2, it's going to find the value there, just like you would see on the chart. So again, like if I was like at 0.1, then it would be, it's going to 0.5. 0.5, it didn't change. Oh, this is interesting. 0.15 or 1.5. Let's see if it interpolates. No, it doesn't. 0.19. I learned something here. It's not interpolating between the two. So until it gets to 0.2, it's using 0.451. And if you want a value here in the middle, you're going to need to add another value by clicking on the plus button to get a new value. So let me run a simulation here. And let me turn off my uncertainties. So my uncertainties are turned off. And let's launch. And I just want to get a baseline. So a baseline flight with those values, with the CD values that RockSim is calculating, these values right here, we get an altitude of 1,710 feet. Now, if we change the coefficient of drag, let's make it a big number, 0.8, 0.8, 0.8, 0.8, 0.8, 0.8. And then we run a simulation. And this is where I think the bug is. Let's see. Oh, it worked. It did go lower. But, oh, cool, and it still worked. See, on my other computer, my numbers changed. They didn't hold steady. So, basically, I just showed you how to do it. And the bug is on my other computer, and I don't know why. Because when I tried it yesterday, as I was writing the article, my numbers were changing. So now, let's see, we did it up to Mach 0.8. So what's the speed of this rocket? Maximum velocity, 312 miles an hour. So we didn't even get like to Mach 0.5. But we want to verify the chart here that it took the numbers. So on my x-axis, I'm going to use Mach number. Where is the speed? Longitude, Mach number. And then on my y-axis, I'm going to clear these, and I want to go with the CD. And I want to start at time 0, and I want to end my graph, not the end of the data, but when the rocket reaches peak velocity. So we're only going to go from 0 to 314 miles an hour, and then we'll plot that graph. And here's where something weird goes on. So if you see all this, we got multiple lines going here, and this is, we need to figure this out. And then basically it's like, what's going on here at, a CD of over 70? I had expected it at 0.8. So I'm zooming in here, and this is 2, 4, 6, 8. So 0.8, that's about 0.8 right there. And it's a straight line, and we didn't get higher than that, which is what we wanted to see. But why is there multiple lines right here? Something is going on. So let's go back to preferences. This time, let's go time and altitude. Let's go altitude above ground level and plot the graph. Okay, so we went to here. And see, this is weird because I have the graph ending point, and when the rocket reaches peak velocity, and according to that graph, the rocket came all the way back down to the ground. So that is not correct. Let's plot velocity here. Relative velocity, and plot that graph. So our peak velocity occurs right around 2 seconds. No, that's 2. Well, what's our motor burn time on this motor? That will be our peak velocity. So I can get that if I go to the rocket motor burn time. And if I click on this, the F30 burn time is 1.6 seconds. So I want to end my graph at 1.6 seconds. So here I'm going to change it to at the following flight time, 1.6, hit the tab, and plot the graph. All right, so that's actually, it peaked out at 1.12 seconds. Okay, so let's go back to that. And so now we're going to go back to, so here I want to change this to 1.2 seconds. And now we'll go back here, and I want Mach number again. And altitude, no, we want coefficient of drag. Oop, I set the wrong one. This one, let's make it that color. Click OK. So now let's plot this graph. All right. So if I bring this back here, look at that. Here is 0.8. So we verified that it is actually using the coefficient of drag that we plugged in. So now I had to figure out, why did it start here at this high value and then started dropping down? That's weird. It's kind of like maybe it's on the launch pad. Something weird is going on while it's on the pad. Let's see. Organized columns. Time to launch guide departure. Where is time to launch guide departure? Time to burnout. Velocity deployment. Organized columns. I thought I did flight time to launch guide departure. Turn off manufacturers. Velocity at launch guide departure. Velocity at deployment. There it is. So time to launch guide departure is 0.18 seconds. So if I go back to here and making sure I selected the right one, and plot the graph, 0.18 seconds. So right here where my thumb is, that's 0.18 seconds. So all this stuff here is when it is on the launch rod. So there is some, I don't know why it's calculating drag on the launch rod, but it is. But until it clears the launch rod, then once it clears the launch rod, then it is using those values that we put in here for the Mach number and the coefficient of drag. So that's what you're going to do. And then B and C, just put these at 0. These are for adjustments of, as I said, low angle of attack and high angle of attack. And then coefficient of base drag, again, if you don't know how things are changes, just put 0 in here. And then it will ignore the base drag coefficient. Now CN alpha and CP override. I haven't played around with this one. This is the coefficient of normal force derivative table and the center of pressure table. And basically what this is the center of pressure is changing with the speed of the rocket and angle of attack. It's kind of like your fins, as you go faster, your fins are producing more force. And because they're producing more force, because, you get more air flowing over them, they're producing more force, so your center of pressure is moving further back on your rocket. So as your rocket goes faster, the center of pressure is moving back further, making the rocket more stable, which makes sense. But then you have angle of attack, and these are going to push the center of pressure forward. But again, how do you measure? And this is the normal force, and it's a derivative table, which I don't even know what that means. I'm going to have to look it up. So we have a normal force derivative table and then the center of pressure table. And I don't know how to use those, so I would just ignore those. But using the coefficient of drag and the base drag coefficient here, hopefully I've just explained it to you. Troy Airmet says, I successfully flew my Katana on a J315 to 3,700 feet and used RockSim 11 to do my ejection charge calculations. Well, that's great. That's cool. And then Tiny House Homestead says, Chris, you put big turkey fins on it and change the CD center of drag. Okay. I am so glad that the center of gravity worked for me today. Or center of gravity. Coefficient of drag worked. The drag table worked. Let's change this to 1.5. And then this one, 1.5. Oh, that's like so fast, though. I need one in the middle. So at Mach 0.1, what we say is going to be 0.8. And hit tab. Okay, run the simulation again. Wow, it went even lower that time. Okay, I'm going to plot this. Mach, plot the graph. And again, so all this was on the launch pad up to here. And then we have, coefficient of drag of 1.5. Hey, that worked. That worked. Most people don't even look at these graphs. I do, because there's a lot of good information buried in them. There's a lot of engineering. Us engineers, we like to look at those graphs. Yeah, lots of good stuff. It just tells me it's working, though. Wasn't working yesterday. Maybe I was running my computer too long. I don't know. So we're at 3 o'clock. Again, go to the Apogee website if you already haven't. Get your free Christmas topper. It's only a few more days until December 2nd. Sign up for our newsletter. If you're going to plan on ordering stuff, and we hope you do, we need the business. Here's our shipping dates. If you click on this, what you're going to need. For rocket motors, you got to order them by December 9th. And then anything else by December 16th to make sure you get it in time for Christmas. Here's where you can get RockSim 11. And here's where you can get RockSim Pro. And you can get it free if you spend $30. So buy something else, get RockSim Pro free, try it out, play with it, come back in 30 days, buy another $30 worth of stuff, keep coming back. That's the whole purpose, is we want you to keep coming back because we want to serve you. That's our job here. It's just to make your life better. All right, so yeah, I will be back next Friday for another RockSim Live. So we'll see you then. I'll give you a countdown. Let me give you a countdown. Let me turn that off. Okay. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go out and launch something.